It's right here, and yeah, welcome to my attempt of talking about Mr. Agreste, the new Miraculous Ladybug episode. I don't know, for it feels like for the first time in a while that the freaking miraculous drought just ended, and we're finally getting something, whatever Astruck is up to. I bet he's just sitting there and just contemplating. Not to blame you, but also he's like finally releasing some content. I mean, other than, his ramblings and fighting with fans and Twitter or whatever. But yeah, that's another thing. But this is, yeah, for Zag, finally. Yeah. What is going on over there when it comes to Miraculous Ladybug? I keep just wondering, like, man, these Miraculous channels, that they've been waiting. Okay. I don't know what other content that they are making out there. Some of them probably review other, properties and stuff like that. But yeah, you know what? Finally, never late than never. Okay, yeah. But other than that, I honestly contemplate on reviewing this episode or just talking about Miraculous in general. And I don't know. Here I am, I guess. I did make a list of talking about it, and I guess in my opinion, Miraculous, at least in a personal and religious standpoint, I don't think Miraculous Ladybug is like, too demonic. I know what it promotes and what all this stuff, especially as a Christian, doesn't stand with, my faith and stuff like that. And there's a part of me where, man, will God sudden me if I if I actually really talk about this? Then again, I'm gonna be probably talking about Hasbin Hotel once the season 2 comes out as a Christian, so that's gonna be an interesting aspect. But I always enjoyed most of Miraculous and what it offers. The thing is that I still want my dreams to come true. There's this buildup. My predictions for an all Miraculous squad has come true. And I truly want to see that. I want to see other characters, especially with the other, Miraculous holders, to have their own story, to build up to something that they are. And now the next phase of Miraculous Ladybug, at least for me, is to actually see, what's going to happen if they grow up. What will Ladybug be once she's 18, once she's actually an adult? Like, we've been waiting for this. I feel like for many of the Miraculous fandom are already like adults. Some of them are pretty much already married at this point compared to when they first saw the show and stuff. You listen, we all grow fast, but I'm just saying, Astra, can you just stop making them into 14-year-olds? Can we just have adults? Okay, is like, what is the quota of actually keeping them as kids? I never understand that, especially with Pokemon, for example. Why the frick is Ash 13? For 60 years, Ash Ketchum has been freaking 13 years old. Can we stop making, gosh, that is weird. But yo, whatever. That's just my opinion. And a lot of it is going to be my opinion. But also, I'm just here to explain, the episode and what I feel about it and stuff like that. And, I'm on my way. Mr. Agreste, basically addressing, Gabriel, and also aka Hawkmoth, but then, has been replaced by another Hawkmoth, of course. Yeah, this episode was not bad. I enjoy it. They say this is the best one so far, and I kind of can see that, especially in an emotional standpoint, and when it comes down to who Cat Noir is, or who basically what Adrian is going through. And I feel like, him losing his father is understandable, but one thing that I didn't know is man, he lost his father, but also his father wasn't a good person, and he understands that. And that's something interesting. Admitting that, even though, and I know this is a very serious topic for many of you, the people that you love, you have family members here and there. Listen, no one's telling you to love all of them. They're not going to see that. They're not going to know that. If you see them every single Christmas, it doesn't mean you have to fall in love with them. I have cousins. I have family off the wazoo, okay? It's a freaking Filipino family household. I got freaking families, aunties on aunties on aunties on aunties on aunties, uncles on uncles, cousins on cousins off the wazoo, cousins having kids with a batch of another cousins having kids. Shoot, you think I can keep up? You think they know who I am? No, and I'm okay with it. It doesn't like in pretty much when it comes to loving them, and that is far from it because they don't know who I am. I probably never seen them. There is cousins that I have never ever seen before. Okay, but when it comes down to family, especially with the ones that have been raising you and stuff like that, your father or you if you've been taking care of your grandma and grandpa, a lot of times this idea of like loving them is sometimes like it's not ridiculous, but it's not human. The thing is that I can't. You think I love my parents all the time? It doesn't go like that. If anything, not really. You know, and they can see that. It's a matter of like seeing the BS. People that watch my videos, I don't expect them to love me. I don't expect anything in sense of a love. I just, hey, I'm making something of your favorite show, of your favorite video game. And if you enjoyed it, you enjoyed it. If you subscribe, stay for the party. But love is a whole entire thing. I love, my subscribers. I cherish and pretty much all the good moments that we had. But they don't know me. I'm a stranger on the internet, for sure. And when it comes down to strangers and having love for them, a lot of times, especially if they pass away, it makes sense why we love them. But why do you think so? I mean, Stan Lee doesn't know me, but RIP. Etika doesn't know me, but rest in peace. I know that was a big deal. In some ways, like especially for many other content creators that passed away, they don't know me. I just appreciate them. And yeah, I see how this is, bad for especially the other creators that, are family to them. And, no, I can only understand that. That's why, with when it comes down to the whole thing with Total Biscuit, rest in peace, I still follow the creators, the friends that, he collab with till this day. And, they don't, people come and go. And especially with Mr. Agreste, him being a father and also not really supporting, what Cat Noir wants. It's like it makes sense why his love is complicated compared to him. The thing is that it's gonna affect you over time. Once you're gone, and if you don't leave a remark or don't leave any, traces of good example and stuff like that, the ideas of like, thinking about you when you're gone is kind of like non-existent. Just, to be real, that's just how it is. And for, Adrian, and seeing other people like why are they celebrating my father if they don't even know him is heavily understandable. So I see it through that aspect, and they go into those details, man. It's almost like if Astruck knows, like we can go the same route with for like Walt Disney or some other creator, or Monty Un, or the creator of Ruby. Rest in peace. But I don't know him. I love Ruby. One of my favorite shows, next neck to neck there with Miraculous Ladybug. But to be honest with you, Monteum doesn't know me. I don't know him. That's no disrespect. It's like, what do you want me to say? I literally I still remember making this like video about Monteum, and it was the cringiest thing because I don't really know anything much about him other than him making Ruby. And mind you, I was like probably 19 when I was making this, so I don't know if my head was straight when it comes to making this. And now I'm almost 30. I'm like, okay, well, why did I make a video about somebody that I don't freaking know other than the creator of the show? You know what I mean? So yeah, interesting aspect from Astruck Aspect. I freaking put interesting aspect or Astruck, and I put them all in one word. My goodness, I probably should be starting speaking French, or might as well. Anyways, and also I see the Tickety and Sass multi-bug design. I always like these designs from Ladybug and what she's putting on. And it's always interesting. I was like, yeah, the eyes scare me, but wow, this could be almost a immediate cosplay or Halloween costume design right here for but that it will be beyond complicated. I don't know where they get their ideas with the designs. What is going on here? And also there's an explanation of why Luca moved to Brazil. And it's basically because, he knows that, it's like he understood how powerful the new Hawk Moth, aka, Lily, and how powerful she is. like in pretty much underestimate, especially with all the examples and all the times that Luca has been there with him, with like with the class and all, and especially given their miraculous, their new Kwamis, and being the new miraculous holders, different of these players in the miraculous squad, or the miraculous are often, and what they that's why I like is that they have their own ways of protecting themselves and protecting their Kwami over time, especially how knowing how powerful you know Hawkmoth, the new Hawkmoth, and they can take any of them away, and because many of them have flaws. And I'm just surprised most of them didn't move like to different areas in Europe or different areas around the world. But and Luca over here is moving all the way to Brazil. There's this. Can I also side note? What's up with the freaking relationship between France and Brazil? There's something in there. I'm like, I didn't know that they existed. I'm like, man, Brazil and France always like they just go to each other's countries so often to the point where I'm like, okay, so they're like, because they're like different languages, but at the same time, it's like, what's up with these two, these two countries? I speak them like they're two individuals. They're dating each other, but yeah, the explanation of Luca of why he moves to Brazil, and also we get to see Luca's girlfriend, well, actually pretend girlfriend. And I guess this would be a somewhat of introduction of like, miraculous world, Brazil, because Astruc did announce like it's something about, doing these, going to other countries, like the same thing he did with New York and the same thing he did with China. Like he's going all over the place to collab with, just other countries for sure. And I'm interested to see how that works. It's mostly around the world. There's a part of me where I wish it was like, like, can we get something in Europe, like in Italy and Spain? We did get something like Miraculous London, but I guarantee it was like not anything about London, okay? It was about the characters and everything, but when it comes down to, what about the, miraculous heroes in London? We didn't get any. We didn't get any in the freaking UK. You kidding me? Kidding me? Shoot. The only top miraculous are the ones in France, of course. Of course. Yeah, sure. You call the shots, that struck. It is a French show itself. But moving on. Also, what's up with the girlfriend pretending thing? I don't know that. I have notes here. I'm trying to read here. But does Luca know something when asking for miraculous? Oh yeah, that moment where Ladybug went up to Luca just out of nowhere. Because there's this whole thing about Ladybug knowing the truth of, who Monarch is, and who Hawkmoth, the whole truth about Mr. Agreste is beginning to, get to her. And at some point, she's gonna blather the truth for sure. And I don't blame her. But it's like, man, this is somewhat getting serious. I can see how this is gonna affect in later episodes for sure about telling the truth, and also how this might be affecting herself later on, but also with Natalie, because apparently, yeah, of course, Natalie knows, but Natalie really doesn't want Marinette to tell anybody, like anyone, and maybe there is a part of me where I see why, but also it's like, well, if that happens, I don't know if there's like a big dent for Natalie, I guess. She knows already. But, of course, it's the worry about, Adrian. Because Adrian's going through it. He's going through a lot. It seems like each episode itself, you see his pain. But also you see the other of the Miraculous, like, being there for them. For him, specifically. Like, I see that moment where it's like, I don't really see a lot of scenes with Luca and Adrian. But seeing that scene where, Luca saying goodbye to, Adrian, deep, but also real. It's like, yep, this is one of the rare scenes, and here we are. But also the villain, Mr. Agreste, why is it called that? Could have been some other names here and there for sure, but I guess Mr. Agreste, with each villain, it has to be part of the episode name. And for that name itself would be, I guess, fitting for, for like what the episode is about, especially when it comes down, to the bare bones of like who Mr. Agreste is. Like, and also them making a statue, and this person being the first to make a full statue about Mr. Agreste and him not getting, but also wanting to. And then, gets commitized because got rejected. He got rejected with the plan for it, I think by Natalie or by Adrian. I forget. I only saw the episode once, and here I am just talking about it. But yeah, he basically turned into a villain, and he could be one of the closest and hardest villains to defeat. Literally took out Adrian, and I feel like, I don't know what it is. What is up with, with the writers, like making these episodes that are very close. They are just like very close. And I'm like, man, why you gotta like be like each scene, and it's always like they up and they like, edge more than they should. It's like, man, they're really like, try like to the point where it could be like, oh no, some of the Miraculous are dead, and then nope, they're alive. Thanks, sass. That kind of like, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes into that aspect, even though that would sound ridiculous. Like that plot point itself, like, like no one's gonna die in Miraculous. I think there's a prediction where I feel like somebody was gonna die and someone is technically dead. Like you could say that Mr. Agreste is dead. Yeah, sure. He's not. We're not gonna see him at all. I think in the same case with, the one that gave, Sensei, Master or whoever, the one that gave Marinette the Miraculous in the first place. Would that count as dead, or he's just like taking a vacay or basically going back to China? I don't know. I don't know about that. But this episode itself is quite interesting, and it's like how it pinpoints like, different directions here and there, and how close it gets. Like, it like that has to be the hardest battle for Adrian, or, of course, Cat Noir, where he was like, exposing who his father is in front of Mr. Agreste, aka, especially being as the father. And that's already hard enough. And I understand how that's a very hard, battle with Cat Noir, with Adrian. And then, Ladybug there barely, like it was like, where was the other heroes? Like, I feel like that could have been a perfect time to have Luca in. I mean, Luca's in Brazil, so there's no need to bother him. But also, like, the others, like, I guess Pegasus is taking a break right now. So, yeah, that this episode itself is, I don't know. I can see it's the best. I don't do scores anymore when it comes to these. I guess I give it a 9 out of 10. I don't freaking know. I have to listen to the fans mostly before I get roasted. I still get views from these Miraculous episodes, okay? These Miraculous analysis or whatever it is, surprisingly, even though I don't, because my channel has been freaking underwater for a while now. But yeah, Father getting the praise and just like, not anymore. So what's really gonna happen? They're about to, are they gonna be silent about, the whole thing about Mr. Grass? Or is there gonna be news like exposing who he really is or something like that? I don't know. But other than that, I'm here just to talk about the damn episode. What you want from me? I guess it's good. But you know what? I hope for the future people that are gonna review Miraculous Ladybug, there should be some new cats out there that is reviewing this. But again, this show has been out there for almost a decade, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. Will that happen? Because listen, a lot of the Miraculous channels that I've seen are people that review Miraculous, like me. We're getting old. Anyways, I'll see you when I see you. One love, peace, and God bless.